In order to become a licensed nail tech, you have to take a state board exam. So this is 2 exams that you need to take. You need a written and a practical exam. Everybody always talks about the practical exam. Oh my gosh, I have my practical exam. And I always tell my students, the practical is the least of your worries. It is super easy. It's tedious, you gotta pack, blah, blah. That's easy. The written exam, different story. And many of my students have issues, particularly when it comes to taking the written exam. And this is not because they don't know the material or they can't remember their material. It's just some people also too just don't really do well when it comes to testing. So today I wanted to go over some tips with you that I share with my students that's also going to be found in the textbook that have helped my students, and you can overcome this fear of failing your written practical exam for your New York State boards right now. So if you missed the video that I previously have done, I have a 3-part video out that does super well on YouTube, and I'll leave a link above and down in the description about the practical examination, how to prep for that, prepare for that, and all that stuff. But today, we are focusing on the written exam. Some of you have left me comments talking about, I need more information about the written exam, and it took me a while to make this video just because I'm like, what can I say? It's one of those things where I don't know what's going to be on the exam. No teacher really does. We have ideas, but our job is to kind of just teach the curriculum. You guys study, and good luck. But I'm going to give some tips to you that throughout school, when it comes to just the regular exams or these state board exams that the girls have to take in class in order to graduate, there are some tips that I have when it comes to taking the written exam and how to overcome that fear of, and that overwhelming feeling, I should say, of having all these questions and all this material. So I'm gonna share these tips with you right now. So the first thing is preparing for the exam. So I don't know how some schools are, but I know for my school, the students need to pass 2 state board exams, practical and written, just in order to graduate. So our state board test consists of 100 questions. I know the real state board test got downsized right after COVID to 50 questions. I do try to get more information when I hear one of my graduates have taken it. I ask them, like, how was it hard? What was on it? So we have a little bit of an idea of certain things that are on the exam now, what they're focusing on. So I can share that information with you guys versus before when it was just like study everything. It could be very random. So I do have a little bit of insight as to what the more recent tests are. So we will talk about that. But again, students always have issues. I have students that do super well throughout the whole entire course. And then when it comes time to take an exam, and they're with me in class, they're listening, they're participating, they're doing their homework. But then when they take a test, they just fail. And it's just that fear of an overwhelming feeling, again, that when you're sitting down to take an exam, some people just don't test well. That's just the reality of it. So there are some practices that we can go through to help you get through that and make that process just a little bit easier. But first, as we are preparing for the exam, I have to say, let's just back this up for a minute. Before you even take your exam, you should be studying the material. Never wait until the last minute. You cannot be a student that was not paying attention the whole time, that was absent, that was just not there, and then have the audacity to walk into your written exam expecting to pass. Number 1 tip I have for you is study the material as you go. Every teacher is going to be different. I like to give handouts. I am a handout queen. If you are a student of mine, you know that you walked away with a folder filled of papers, because it is unrealistic to think that someone's going to sit through a course for 2.5 months and then probably go out to work, forget everything that they learned, and then take your exam at some point, and then now you have this whole big textbook that you have to go through. I like handouts because then you can just take these handouts, look through them, and kind of make it a little bit easier for yourself. So if your teacher is not someone that gives out handouts, I suggest making notes as you're in class. Every chapter you should have notes, certain important key terms that the book highlights and talks about, certain things. You should be making notes and you should be taking in that information chapter by chapter throughout the whole time when you are in class. That way, when you are ready to take your exam, you are just kind of looking through your notes. Yes, you want to glance at the textbook, yes, but if your notes are up to par, then you shouldn't have a problem. You should just be able to look through my notes of what was important from each chapter that I need to take and I need to study. And that being said, we need to also know when is a realistic time that you are most energetic, that you are able to take in this moment and study. Having adequate study time is going to be ideal. I get that you are in school. If you're in day school, you're in night school, for nails, whatever, there's going to be at some point in the day where you have to say, I'm gonna take a minute and just review the material. Do not wait, because again, by the end of the week, it's already built up. We're already several chapters in. It's a lot of information. I already know that. I teach it, so I know that. I can only imagine what it is on the opposite end. I don't remember 5,000 years ago when I was in school, but it's a lot of information that you have to take in a very short amount of time. So finding a decent time, knowing when do I have the most energy? Don't try to study at 11 o'clock at night after you done went to nail school, went to your night job, and you came home, took care of the kids or your boyfriend or this or that, you went out and then you tried to study. That's not realistic. When is a good time for you to sit down and study? If it is only once a week or every couple of days, then take in that information again. If I'm reviewing my notes and I'm looking over things, then I know, okay, I'm just gonna review these notes a little bit. I'm gonna give myself like an hour on every other day to just review the notes that I've already read, go over certain things that the teacher was talking about, look at certain videos and demos from the textbook, do this stuff. Again, finding a realistic study time is going to be ideal for you. Another tip that I've gotten later on through students that they were about to take their state board exam and they kind of said like, Miss Keisha, I wish I really had like, some index cards. So they started creating index cards for the important terms in every single chapter. And they were using that to kind of like partner up and study. And I was like, this is a really good idea. So what I actually did was I started to incorporate that into my curriculum as homework. This is something I tell everybody. I tell you to create index cards on certain chapters, certain key terms. And if you do it, great. If you don't, that's on you. I don't check it. That's not I'm doing it for you. So when, again, it's time to take an exam or take your state board, whether it's for school or the state, you have a bunch of index cards. They walk out with a pile like this thing of index cards with all the key terms. Front side should be the term, back side should be the definition or maybe some type of an example. Every chapter is going to have certain type of key terms and highlights, definitions, all that stuff. These are things that, again, if they're highlighting it as a book, you should be noting it for index cards. So I found that later on that these index cards really, really helped them out when it came time for any test. Also, you want to review any tests or quizzes that you take. My girls take tests online, but they do have some type of paper copy, whatever. But we always do practice tests. Always review your tests. Always go over your quizzes. These are ways that we can prepare. So again, do not wait until after school. Don't do nothing throughout your time at school and then try to do all of this in bulk days before, weeks before your exam for the state. If you do little by little to prep for it, it'll be so much easier for you in the end. So now let's talk about some test taking tips for the big day. So we went to school, we've prepared, right? We got our index cards, we have our study notes, we did our job while we were in school. So let's say it's months later, whatever the case may be, because you don't need to take your exam right away. I do suggest it. I didn't do that. Don't be like me. Don't wait. The longer you wait to take that exam, you're gonna lose this information. Again, you're getting a lot of information in a short amount of time, so your brain is only gonna hold it but for so long. You wanna take that exam as soon as you can. I can't stress that enough. Do not wait a year or two later to take the exam. I don't think you can wait 2 years. You can do 6 months to a year, but don't wait. Try to take it as soon as you can. After you graduate, I believe you have to wait like 2 weeks before you can make an account and register and sign up for your exams. do it. Do not wait to take the information because you're going to lose it, trust me. So you want to review all your stuff. Index cards, handouts, study sheets, quizzes. We're going to review the material. My test is coming up. I need to look over this. I did my part in school to take my notes. So now I want to sit down and I'm going to review the material. Do not try to cram the information. Do not try to study for an exam on Saturday and your exam is Monday. Probably not gonna work out for you unless you're somebody that takes in that type of information and cramming works for you. Most of us, it doesn't. Study it, as you know. You sign up for your exam, they tell you your test date. I don't know how much in advance you get, but I'm pretty sure it's a decent amount of time you have to prepare for your exam. So study for it little by little, again, just like you did when you were in school. Go over everything little by little leading up to the day of the exam. Another tip is read all of the directions and listen carefully to the directions given to you when you begin or arrive at your exam. You are probably already nervous. You just have this fear and it's like you're anxious and you want to take it and get it done with, but you have to try to focus, be present, listen to your instructions. You don't want to miss anything that's crucial that maybe your proctor is telling you or where you should be. And then the worst case scenario is you went to the wrong classroom or you went to the wrong place and you were just like thrown off. That's going to mess you up. So pay attention to where you are going, pay attention, know where you are going ahead of time, GPS it so you know what time I need to arrive. And when you arrive, listen to all directions that are given to you. And if you have questions, ask your proctor any questions. Do not assume anything. Don't be nervous to ask questions. If you don't understand something that is being said to you, ask these questions. They are there to help you. Another good tip that I have is when you sit down and you start taking your exam, read through your entire exam first. Don't answer any questions. Read every single question. There's a reason for this, and we'll come back to this in a second. Read your entire exam thoroughly first so you have an idea of what's being asked of you. That's the first thing that you want to do when you begin. And why, you might ask, is because a lot of times the answer to one question is in another question. So you see that in multiple choice, they do this a lot. There is a tactic, there's a method to this when it comes to multiple choice. People think multiple choice is easy, but it's actually very hard because it's the easiest way to trick the test taker. So reading the questions, you can say, what does the nail plate consist of? But then another question might say, there's keratin in the nail plate layers. What is blah, blah, blah? You're gonna say, oh, okay. They just kind of gave me the answer in this question. This is why we wanna read it. So read everything because a lot of times they do that a lot. And if you're taking the test and you notice like, they said something about this before, go back. There's nothing wrong with that, go back. A lot of times they do that, especially when it's 50 to 100 questions. Some stuff might be repetitive and they will give you the answer in some shape, way, or form. You might find it somewhere else. Another tip is do not spend too much time on one question. The reality is, if you don't know the answer, it's not magically gonna come into your head. You can't remember everything. So don't sit and say, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. Read the question, give yourself 2 minutes, 3 minutes, skip it, come back to it. All the questions that you do not know, skip, go to the next one. Because then you're gonna get stuck. Oh my God, I don't know this answer. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you're gonna trip yourself out. You're gonna freak out. You're gonna start to think, I'm gonna fail. Oh my God, I don't know this, I don't know this. Don't let that question take over you. Skip it, go to the next one. All the ones that you do not know, skip. When you are done with the entire exam, go back, reread them, and try to see if it's going to come to you by then. Because again, maybe you saw the answer for that question that you didn't know in another question. So that's also another possibility. But we always want to make sure we never leave anything blank. I hate when students do this, and I'm like, I always look over their tests when they hand it to me, and I'm like, take this back, you forgot to. And they're like, seriously? You didn't review your exam when you were done. Never leave anything blank. If you do not know, make an educated guess. I have a tip, and this is just what I used to do. This is a test taking tip that I used to do. If you get in trouble, don't blame me. But I don't answer, let's say out of 50 questions, I didn't know 5 of them. I don't just write, okay, A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. I write B for all the ones that I don't know, or A for all the ones that I don't know. Because guess what? What are the odds that one of those answers was A? If I chose out of 5, everybody gets A because I just don't know those answers. Something has to be A. I have 1 out of 4 chances, those are my odds, that one of those questions, the answer is A. So don't sit there and randomly, sporadically just fill in letters because you don't know. Choose the same answer for all the ones that you really, really don't know. Try to get the answers, obviously, but if you just don't know, you don't know. Don't answer randomly. Put them all for the same letter. And then most of the time, again, you have a good probability that one of those is the answer that you chose. Now, the tip that I have for you is read each question carefully. Multiple choice loves tricky words. They love to say this, and that, except, or this, and that, or. They throw these words for you. Sometimes they will make it italicized, they'll make it capital letters, so you see where it says except all of these, whatever, except are blah, blah, blah. Those are your answers. So you have to read the question because they'll be like, oh, I didn't even see that. Because the thing is, you were speeding. Sometimes when we are reading words, especially when we're in a nervous state or in a test-taking mode, our eyes are going faster than our brains. So we are reading the words, but we're not taking the words in. So my eyes are looking at words, but my mind is like, da, 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 and I'm skipping over. Slow it down. Read the question. That is the top thing that multiple choice loves to do. They love tricky wording. They love to try to get you. Read each question carefully so you know how to answer correctly. You don't want to answer a question wrong because you missed one little keyword in it. When you are done with your test, again, look over your test. Make sure every single thing is answered. You didn't leave anything blank. I always tell people, don't start second guessing yourself. That's just another tip that I do when I'm taking tests. Do not go back and say, I'm starting to think maybe this wasn't. Unless you are 100% sure, leave your answers. Don't second guess yourself because a lot of the times your first instinct was the right one. So don't sit there and go back and changing answers. Only change the answers when you know, oh wow, I missed that word when they said except or they said or. It's not this, it's that. That's a sure reason that I can say, okay, I'm gonna change from A to B. But if it's like, is it nail plate or is it eponychia? I'm not gonna change my answer. That's not a sure thing that I feel unconfident about my answer. If you don't know, you don't know, or if that was your instinct when you read that question thoroughly and you answered A, stick with it. Do not try to change your answers unless you really, really, really are sure or you really feel the need to do so. And what's crazy is I see when my students will change an answer, and usually I would say 80% of the time their first answer was the correct answer. They went back, second guessed themselves and changed it, and then they end up getting it wrong. So stick with your instinct and keep what you have, again, unless you have a real reason to change that answer. So let's talk about deductive reasoning for a second. This is something that's spoken about in the textbook, which is, it's very interesting kind of logic that I just want to share with you. Again, if you took the nail course, and you might have heard about this, but again, it's something that is kind of boring in the text, so you probably weren't really paying attention when your teacher was talking about it or really taking it in when you were reading it on your own. But I just want to kind of rediscuss what deductive reasoning is. So deductive reasoning is the process of reaching logical conclusions by employing logical reasoning. So it's a technique that a lot of students can learn from how to get better results when taking tests. So let's go over some of the strategies that can help you get better test results. So you might see me glance down. I just want to make sure I get this wording actually very correctly because this is, again, straight from the textbook, but very important information. So you always want to mark the answers you know that aren't right immediately. Process of elimination. I stress this to the girls like crazy. This helps narrow down your choices so it's easier for you to choose the correct answer. If they're asking me a question, I know it's not B. I'm going to cross out B. I know it's not C. D says all of the above. I already know it's not C. It ain't B, so it definitely can't be D. That leaves A. Process of elimination. And as I preach it to them and I'm grading tests and I can see them crossing out the ones that they know is not right, they're taking this in, that helps it. Because even if I'm stuck with 2 or maybe even 3, I can eliminate somebody from this so I can get a better chance at getting this question right. So you always want to look at the question, look at the answers, and cross off the ones that you know just don't make sense. Because again, they will try to trick you. And also when you're reading your answers, you want to make sure that you are reading them correctly. Because sometimes 2 answers might sound exactly the same, but they're not. There's some word in there. There's something. Again, try to take it down slowly and read it. Somebody's wrong, somebody's right. So you want to just cross out those that you know for sure are not the correct answer first. Another thing is we want to look for key terms like usually, commonly, always. These are key words that they use in test taking. So you want to make sure that you are looking for these key terms when answering the question. Don't skim over it, guess, or answer. You want to look for these key terms that they are asking from you. And then again, we want to look for questions that are similar because they sometimes provide the answers. And lastly, when working on multiple choice questions, I'm going to give you 3 tips. If 2 choices are similar, one of them is probably right. If 2 are exactly the same, both are probably wrong. And number 1 tip that I could give you, if you get nothing else from this video, all of the above answers are usually the correct ones. Unless you know out of A, B, C, and D, if D says all of the above and I know B is not it, then again, process of elimination. If I don't know and you see all of the above, choose all the above, always. My students have taken that in and 93% of the time, it's all the above. The text is right. So that is definitely a top tip that you want to take when it comes to deductive reasoning. So again, you can rewind this, write it down. I'll try to put it on the screen just so it sticks out a little bit for you. But these are tips that I wanted to just share with you when it comes to taking your written exam. So again, we talked about the written exam. I just want to bring up the practical exam again for 1 second. If you need step-by-step on what goes on during the practical exam, how to pack for it, what to do for each section, I will leave links down in the description box below and you can check those videos out. They've helped students, they're there for you to just look at so you know what to do during your practical exams. But I do have a couple updated tips that I want to share with you when it comes to taking your practical state board exam. First tip is know your procedures and your task list. You can go to your state's website, you will get your supply list, procedures, and your task list. You want to know your procedures and your task list and know what is to be expected. You can see on your task list, they tell you, again, I'm speaking from New York State, what the proctor is going to be saying. You should know this. If you look at that page, the proctor is literally telling you, first you're going to take out your file, then you're going to shape your nails, then you're going to do this, then you're going to do, they're telling you what to do. So even if you're freaking out and you're nervous and you don't know what's happening, listen, stop, listen. They're telling you exactly what you need to do. We want to see you succeed. They don't want to, it's not a trick. They don't want to fail you. So know your procedures and your task list, what's expected, know your next steps. Again, practical exam, not hard, tedious. That's what it is. Check that supply list in preparation for your practical exam. Make sure you have everything that you need for your exam. That is going to be crucial. Make sure, go through that bag, pack that bag, start doing it days before. If you have any questions when it comes to your practical exam, feel free to leave me questions in one of those videos underneath this videos. I've had some people DM me. I've had some people tell me they watched the video, it helped them so much and they passed. I love it. If you have questions, feel free to DM me. If you are in New York State, I can guide you a little bit better. If you're in another state, I'll try my best, but I know New York State, obviously the best. So if you have questions, feel free to DM me when it comes to the supply list, what supplies you should get. I also have everything on my Amazon storefront labeled by section for you. So if you are wondering, I need the right tips, I need the right this for this section, If you go on my Amazon storefront, the link is in the description box below. It says New York State Practical Exam, boom, manicure section, general prep, preparation of work area, acrylic, and tips. It has everything labeled for you, so you can just click that and you'll see the supplies that I can recommend for you and suggest that are New York State board approved. Another thing is you want to recheck all your implements and your equipment. Make sure everything is clean, disinfected, it's not rusty or dirty looking. It's not anything that is requested or asked of you to have new stuff. Nothing has to be brand new, but we don't want to show up with nippers that look like they're 150 years old. Make sure your stuff is clean looking, it's presentable. Your table towel should not have acrylic stains on it. Like, let's get serious. You know, you want to show up looking professional and looking ready to take your exam. So make sure all your stuff looks good. And on that note, make sure that everything arrives clean. We have a clean container, clean implements, dirty implements. Everything arrives clean and leaves dirty. So make sure everything not only just looks good, but it's in the correct container. It's disinfected. There's no residue and remnants of like stuff you were using with your clippers and your nippers. Make sure everything looks good and it's in the correct container. Also, we want to know where our testing site is going to be beforehand. Again, we don't want to be all baffled and thrown off because, oh, I thought it was on 34th and 8th and it's really on 34th and 5th. Now I got to run over there and I'm rushing and I'm already nervous and I got to set up, and we don't want to do that. So know where your test site is going to be, GPS it, figure out days before, how am I going to get there? How long is this really going to take me? I want to give myself extra time in case we can't plan for emergencies. All of a sudden the train is stuck and now you're late. You want to prepare, know your test site beforehand. This goes for anywhere that you could be, any state. Know exactly where you need to go, what time you need to be there, and how you're going to get there. And most importantly, focus on your own knowledge and your own skills. Trust that you know exactly what to do and that you were taught well by your teacher. Do not look to the person to the left or the right of you. Trust your own knowledge, trust your own skills, relax, and just take the exam. Again, practical exam the work is super easy, even for my beginner students. It's super easy. If I've looked over my procedures, my task list, I pack my bag right. That's the hardest part. Once you show up, you just do the work. Trust your own knowledge and your skill, and you'll be fine. So through all these tips that I've picked up, I've learned, I've experienced, I've shared with my students, I have yet to see not one student fail their practical or their written exam. So I'm very proud to say that I've done my job as a teacher to teach these girls how to pass this exam. So if you guys, again, have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below or DM me if you are taking your practical exam. If you watched a video or watched this video and you passed your exam, I love to hear that a video helped you. Again, that's my goal, is to see you succeed as a nail technician, pass your state boards, and just excel and do well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.